All right, folks, welcome back to the Get Busy podcast. That's your boy B. Jones.
That's your boy Big Izzy.
We got a special podcast for you guys today. It's we're here, man. It's Juneteenth.
It's Juneteenth.
So happy Juneteenth, everybody. Hey,
yo, yes sir.
Air horn. I love that sound,
man. So yo, how did you learn about Juneteenth?
So man, Juneteenth is something I think I've known about. Like in Jersey, people there was some like light celebrations about it. And my dad, he talked about it growing up because he was a Black Panther and he dealt with it. But we didn't really celebrate it. It wasn't like, I wasn't growing up going to cookouts and stuff like that about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was just like we knew the date and that was about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but I'm kind of glad with the change. I guess it's a national holiday now.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I kind of think it's like the new hotness. You know what I'm saying?
It does feel new.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's something that, like I said, like I've known about, but I really didn't celebrate it. And I wish that that's something that I've always celebrated, but I'm glad that I'm celebrating it now. What about yourself?
Okay. So I'm guessing I may have fell into like the category with like a lot. I won't even say majority of people. It feels like majority, but like I learned what Juneteenth was through the TV sitcom Blackish.
Okay.
So that was a couple of years ago. I can't remember how many seasons Blackish ended up being.
I mean, it was popular for a hot minute though.
Yeah, it was popping though. So when they had that episode where they talked about Juneteenth, I never heard the word Juneteenth. You know what I'm saying? Like I ain't never been taught it in school.
Okay.
Nobody's told me, hey, you heard of Juneteenth? I've never heard of it. So I'm like watching. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
There's a Juneteenth. Like, because I kind of always wondered, so I've always felt, or not always, but maybe like in recent years, kind of felt a certain way about July 4th.
Okay.
Because it's like, I remember thinking like, why do we celebrate July 4th? I understand why America celebrates July 4th.
Yeah.
And, America, we're really big on freedom and celebrating freedom and our rights to, be free and do what you want to do and all that kind of stuff. But it's like, we were like, Black people were still slaves, you know what I'm saying? When when the whole July 4th thing kicked off. And so it's always been like a weird thing for me, at least like in the past, like, I don't know, 10 years. But, it's whatever. It's something I was used to celebrating, you know what I'm saying? Any excuse to have a cookout or shoot off some fireworks. And, having kids, it's been like, it's been fun doing that with them. And so I didn't really give too much thought to it, but it always was kind of like, this is weird.
In the back of
my mind, and like, this is like really weird. But I didn't feel a certain way about anybody else that, I kept celebrating it. I don't care if, it's whatever, man. I'm down with freedom. It just wasn't, it wasn't our freedom, but it's like another culture, Cinco de Mayo. That's dope, man. Like when cultures can celebrate and then you kind of learn about, because we kind of, Gwinnett County, we're in the melting pot and, you know what I'm saying? We get to learn about, different other people's cultures, like, holidays and stuff like that. So I think that's really dope. But yeah, so Juneteenth, and the reason why this feels so new, because, again, we've been in this house about a year now.
Okay.
And so this is actually our first, so the past couple of years, we've been to like Juneteenth celebrations.
Okay.
My friend Dwayne, his church, they put on something, or they've been putting on Juneteenth events, I think for the past 2 or 3 years that we've gone to. And so like, this is the first like Juneteenth cookout that we're about to have this coming up Saturday.
Okay.
And so, we're just inviting a whole bunch of people. We're going to have some good food.
Man, looking forward to it.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? It's going to be good weather, pool weather.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, first of all, I think it's fantastic that you're doing it because it's something that's really one of the most important days in American history, for real. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When you really break it down. And I also definitely encourage us to create new traditions and to create like the things that are right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so like that's like you said, the 4th of July's got this thing, there's Memorial Day people look forward to and Veterans Day. Everybody has a chance to like honor what is important to them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
But
I've kind of felt like we as a race of people, and this isn't just, so I was watching this snippet from this comedian, and this dude was saying like, any culture where your race and your language isn't the same, that means you had it harder than other people's like races. And so he was like, Koreans speak Korean, Japanese people speak Japanese. Like, but Mexicans don't speak Mexican. Right. And it was, what I'm saying? And so like, it's like one of those things like we just, as black people, because of our, the situation, like other cultures, we've had to like take on the customs of the people who've conquered us. Right.
Correct.
And so, and again, this is not like a talk to like separate, but we're just, talking real. And so, but that's why I wanted to do this cookout. Cause I didn't want it to just be big for my family, but I wanted it to be big for like, everybody, you know what I'm saying? And just for us to have this kind of a new tradition in America for us. And I know there's some people who've been celebrating Juneteenth, but again, like I think a majority of us just never knew about it.
Yeah, no, that's real.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm really excited about that. And so like another thing, like on the subject of freedom, I was watching this clip on YouTube the other day. Like these two people were having a debate, and it was over, does the Bible condone slavery? And so the one guy who's in the audience on the microphone was trying to argue that the Bible did condone slavery. And the other guy who was a Christian that he was talking to that was on the stage was giving him scriptures and explaining like, no, the Bible never condoned slavery.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I was looking into that, and I think it's, very vital for not just Christians, but just people in general to kind of know, because a lot of people don't really talk about that topic, like with the Bible and slavery, but but you see verses and it's like, oh, that kind of sounds like,
yeah, little.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So I think one of the things that most people will kind of know is, slaves obey your masters. That's, that's in the Bible. And so when you look at Old Testament and like the culture, like the Israelite culture back then, it's not like what chattel slavery is in America
right now. Right.
You know what I'm saying? So back then in biblical days, slavery was voluntary. It was, I guess you'd call it indentured servitude.
Right. To pay off a debt or to like, get something that you.
Right. Or if you just needed, to be taken care of,
right,
you would attach yourself to a family like that had like more money. Like, hey, let me work for you. And that way I can, especially if like a widow or somebody and you know what I'm saying, you don't have a husband or whatever the situation, like you said, debt, you will go and work for that family but you will still be afforded rights. You will still be able to have your own family. You know what I'm saying? So and there were also rules about like how to treat your slave because that's what's going on in the culture. So the one guy I was researching, he was kind of paralleling that to like how divorce is. Like God never condoned divorce.
Right.
But because of people and like our hardened hearts, he had to put guidelines about divorce to like kind of help us along the way, because what God doesn't do is try to like take away that thing, but he tries to, and Jesus, the same thing, like when he came on the scene, he was trying to change people's hearts.
Correct. And
not just trying to make a law that went against what people were already feeling anyway.
Yeah. You know
what I'm saying? And so, when you did slavery in the Bible, like for one, it was like 6 years was the max.
Okay.
So like after 6 years, whether you worked enough time to pay off that debt or not, like the debt is wiped away free. Because God didn't want it to be like like a class system thing. And also it wasn't based on race. It was class. And so but he didn't want like people that had money to like be able to abuse people that didn't have money either. What I'm saying? And so, you know what I'm saying? And so like one of the main verses that I like to reference is actually Exodus 21, verse 16. And it says, whoever kidnaps a man and sells him, or if he is found in his hand, shall surely be put to death. You know what I'm saying? So that's God's heart. So like, if you want to go and kidnap somebody,
right,
and force them
to go to and sell them and
do all that, like God is like, no, that dude needs to die. Right. You know what I'm saying? That's what God's heart is.
That's
and so,
as straightforward as it gets.
Yeah, and so you know what I'm saying, that's what his heart was. And so I think that's just important for people to know. You know what I'm saying? Because like, man, God is for freedom, bro.
Yeah, and so one of the things that I wanted to kind of touch on with that is, especially for God's people, for believers, right? Like we're God's people, and so Sarah had Hagar, and that was like a, you know what I'm saying, situation. But for God's people specifically, he called them out of bondage. He sent Moses to get his people out of and away from. And then he followed that up with sending Jesus Christ to allow us to be who the Son sets free is free indeed. You know what I mean?
Right.
So once we attach ourselves to Christ and we become children of God, right? Or we recognize that we are children of God. That's what it is that he has for us, is that he has freedom for us. He sent somebody to remove us from the bondage, from the whatever it is that we were dealing with, whether it be mental slavery, emotional slavery, or physical slavery.
Right.
Period.
Yeah. Slave to sin.
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So like, so, you know, it's a pretty straightforward thing, but there has been manipulation used when it comes to, you know, how it's been taught, and you know, slave serve your master, like you were mentioning a little bit ago. That was used for hundreds of years to keep people down. You know what I'm saying? Right. And so moving out of that, which is why this is so important, the Juneteenth aspect of it all, is like we finally were able to break free from that. And here we are. And so for anybody that's got questions like that, you know, that's why it's so important to actually get into the word. Yeah. And do more than just like the standard, oh, I heard this, and then you buy into the thing that you heard, but you don't have any like basis to anything else, you know? Right. Yeah. And I feel like a lot of people, especially not Christians, do that a lot, you know?
Yeah. So you got to learn context, you know, do your research. And it's like another point where you were talking about there was a lot of manipulation. So there was actually a slave Bible. And so another piece of evidence that the Bible does not promote slavery is when slave owners would use the Bible to promote slavery. So they took 90%, they removed 90% of the Old Testament. This is a physical Bible. This is like, so they made a new Bible. They took out 90% of the Old Testament and 50% of the New Testament was removed in order to create the slave Bible.
Wow.
So that tells you like, okay, they had to like really do away with the majority of the Bible.
Absolutely.
And leave a little bit and then try to like make it sound like, oh yeah, God is for slavery. You know what I'm saying? Because like you can take scriptures, you can do that any topic in the Bible. Like you can make it sound like something else if you leave certain things out.
If you mutilate it and bastardize it.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So like, I thought that was really interesting. I think the slave Bible was on display like at one of like the African American museums, maybe in Washington, somewhere. DC, somewhere. So yeah, man, it's been, but it's amazing how God has worked through, you know, people who either had like a heart change, people who were slaves. You know, Nat Turner. I didn't know Nat Turner was actually a reverend. He was a preacher. You know what I'm saying? He's, you know, started one of the first slave rebellions. You know, Sojourner Truth. Yeah. Frederick Douglass. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? One of the main like pieces of, you know, like the main person that basically got us to the Emancipation Proclamation, right? Yeah. So he was in Abraham Lincoln's ear, like telling him, like, nah, bro, this is wrong. Like, we need to change this.
He actually had a quote I was looking at about 4th of July because they asked him to come speak at the Independence Day. And he was like, this is not for us. And he said that in this thing. I'm not going to go through the whole quote, but it's pretty powerful. It's a long little speech. But yeah. And, but to that point, you know, like we're here now. And it's off of the backs of those people that you just got finished mentioning. And more than anything is that the word of God is the truth, and it is what sets free. Because even though there was a slave Bible that was used to oppress, right, and subjugate, the truth still found a way to break through, right?
That's amazing, bro.
You know what I'm saying? It's like
still found a way. You know what I'm saying? And we weren't, in control of that.
We couldn't read the language. We couldn't, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And if we did, we were tortured, brutalized, murdered, you know what I'm saying? Lynched. So like, you know, people were teaching you how to read at wee hours of the morning and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? But the word still came through. And the fact of the matter that if we could have been able to read the whole Bible, then we would have seen the freedom that was in it at that time, which is why they took it out. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
The enemy's not trying to remove wrong stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So it just goes to show.
Yeah, it's spiritual warfare, man. And like, you know, and shout out to, you know, back in those days to the white people that were sticking their necks out.
Yeah, absolutely.
To help black people read
100%.
And help to, you know, give them the gospel, the true gospel.
100%.
You know what I'm saying? And I'll give you a quote from Frederick Douglass. He said, "Between the Christianity of this land and the Christianity of Christ, I recognize the widest possible difference." You know what I'm saying? So when his eyes were open, he was like, yo, this is two different, these are two different Bibles, two different Christianity, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so like, yeah, God, man, just in his way, like he worked in people and circumstances to like, for his glory to go through and to still reach, you know, people that were, you know, enslaved, man. And so, you know,
that's
just
awesome, bro.
Yeah. Cause dude, like given a different circumstance, like, man, slavery could have went on for like 3 times as long. You know what I'm saying? Like we could have been the ones that's like trying to get emancipated. You know what I'm saying? So I'm so grateful to our, you know, our ancestors, our forefathers, and you know the people that, you know, died, and people that were raped, and people that, you know, still, you know, showed so much courage
absolutely
during that time to like, so we can sit here and on a podcast and talk about this and be able to celebrate
absolutely
Juneteenth. You know what I'm saying? So
man,
I think
shout
that's
out
really
to them
dope.
for real. And man, thank God for them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Coming from a mom and a dad that grew up in the Jim Crow South, like I feel like I'm not that far removed from, you know, that situation.
Yeah.
And but like you said, you know, it's off of the backs of those people that who would have ever thought, you know, I saw a t-shirt that said my ancestors' wildest dreams, you know, and I thought about that and I was like, wow, you know, we really are our ancestors' wildest dreams if they were to see us right now.
Yeah.
So that's pretty fantastic, man. It just goes to show the glory of God.
Yeah, bro. So, man, Juneteenth, bro, like it was 2 years, you know, the Emancipation Proclamation happened. I think it was the people in Galveston, Texas didn't get that news until 2 years
later.
after.
Yep.
That is so evil, but like it got there, you know what I'm saying? And
got there.
You know what I'm saying? We finally, all of us experienced, you know, freedom on that day. And so, man, just thankful for, like I said, for everybody that came before us, thankful to be able to be here and celebrate this with, you know, friends and family and neighbors and all that good stuff. So
yeah, man. So and thankful for this cookout that's about to be here on Saturday. So a little celebration.
Yeah, man. About to start getting that chicken ready tonight.
So look, folks. At the end of the day, definitely like, share, subscribe. Thank you for viewing. Thank you for watching. If this is something that's new for you, the Juneteenth, let us know down in the comments what your thoughts are about it, how you feel about it.
And how did y'all find out about Juneteenth? I want to see how many people say Blackish.
Right. But until next time, man, happy Juneteenth, and see you on the next go round.
Peace.
Peace.